We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 172, brought to you by Manscaped. SUNSfan here with Cinderin. Hello.
Hello.
You have something to say?
I do. Do you want to set me up for it, or should I just go with it today? I will just go with it.
What do you mean set you up for it?
I don't know. Okay, so as a rare treat, guys, today I will be reading off the message that Manscaped had for us because SUNSfan asked me to. Are you ready? Which voice should I use? Let's use this.
Do your British voice.
No, I'm not doing that one. It's never too late to play holiday music.
Oh my god.
It's never too late to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a friend or the friends in your pants, you can make this a season to be jolly with Manscaped TM. Do your little drummer boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have the people thinking all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code WeSayThings for free shipping and 20% off.
Wow. Very impressive reading, Cinder, and thank you. And thank you to Manscaped for their amazing products, of course, and
I thought you were going to say the text.
Their general support of our podcast. You guys go to manscaped.com and type in We Say Things as the promo code. You will get 20% off free shipping, like Cinderin just said. So thank you, thank you. I'm just messing with my sound levels. Okay. Patrons in Bruges. Thank you to Stupid Copilot, Persian Tongue Twister, Shish Sikh, Jigar Sikhi, Shish Hazar. Is that an exclamation point? Hazar. I can't say that fast, and I don't know if I pronounced any of those correctly. D2 Bowie, Yataro does it again, Cinderin, A Scorpy. I also agree with SUNSfan that CSGO is the best spectator esport, maybe an ad because Valve won't for their games. What is the meaning of life? Answer me, please. Oscar Magdev Seeker. Changed it. My grandma still doesn't know what Dota is. Disco Farm D. I'm once again asking you to say my name. Simple Stooge, Silly Stooge, Salacious Stooge, Sadistic Stooge, Scathing Stooge, Sen, the Mega Pope. All right, EG is out. It is your time, Shannon. Commit to buying the best NA team called Arcana. Take them to second TI in New Zealand. And Zanxavier. Thank you.
Also, thank you to Nate Thicko 01 Hamscroats, Bacon, Shark TM, Freshly Seasoned Goat Balls, Janie, Dop, nothing to see here, underscore men, Ivrement, il réveille son secret. I have no idea how to say this. This is way harder than usual. What about that Ben Broomhead guy? He always has cool Patreon names. Wooden Aftertaste, Anonymous, and if you have 2 legs, you have more legs than the average human being, Mr. Niebling. That makes sense.
Yep, it does.
Have you ever seen anyone with 3 legs?
Yes, not in person,
Don't
though.
answer that. Oh, you have.
Oh, you were talking about my penis.
No, I thought about that after I said it, and I was like, this is terrible. But
well, you know, with Manscaped products, you can make that look like a 3rd leg. You can use that for the next promo text.
Then you're using the products very wrong, I think. Don't do that.
You're doing great.
What was is that like some sort of really rare genetical disorder where you have a 3rd leg, or
yeah,
that you saw?
I mean, I think the one. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things from. I haven't seen one recently, but something on Reddit. It could be from like a conjoined twin that just never made it or whatever, or yeah, it's just like any genetic mutation. You can just be born with something in addition or one less of, or whatever the case.
Right.
Okay. On to my rant for the day. We have a very short episode. That's not the rant, but I have a rant about our viewers/listeners, actually. So after the last episode, we got some complaints, several actually, that we should not I think it started with the cosmetic stuff we do, which typically we'll try to, talk about in a way that the podcast listeners, aka audio only, can appreciate. perhaps we didn't do the greatest job last time. It is difficult to describe that kind of stuff. But it's gotten to the point where I need to ask our viewers / listeners something. Do you guys use the timestamps? Because if you don't, I would like to stop doing it, because that's like 10 minutes of my time every week that I could be saving. If you're not going to use them, that's the entire fucking purpose, is to skip things you don't want to listen to or watch. They're also in the audio description. The timestamps, everything's in there. I don't understand. What is there to complain about? If you don't like something, it's just like literally the NBA segment. So many people probably skip that every time. I imagine.
How many listeners do you think only listen to the NBA segment and then listen to nothing else?
If you do that, please let us know. Although, if you let us know, then we'll know that you're lying, because we didn't do the NBA segment this time and you're listening to us now.
That's true, but they're waiting for it. So they're
with timestamps, they know if it's there or not.
Well, yeah, but they're also listening to the patron shoutouts, obviously.
Not necessarily.
Everybody does that.
Oh, that's true. It's required. Yeah. So that's my very short rant. I physically, mentally cannot understand what that is about. But yeah, so let us know if you use the timestamps. Yeah. Thank you. Next thing, Cinderin, is the Razer Arcana. What's so fun? You like that transition?
Your guys hate cosmetics. Next thing, Razer Arcana.
That's true. Good. Let's describe. Let's describe it for our audio listeners. The Void Storm Asylum Razer Arcana is now available, and this one, when you're gonna have to go in game, by the way, and tell me everything it comes with, because the site apparently doesn't show shit. Oh wait, if I click this, maybe it does. Okay, maybe it does. When I originally saw the photo or the art style, I think I said it on the podcast, it did not really excite me. I mean, I'm not even a Razer player to begin with, but it didn't look anything special to me. It looks fucking amazing. The actual model. It's like a little not mini, it's like a purplish tornado model, which there's a second version of it, which we'll talk about, that turns it turquoise, and it ends up kind of looking like what a remodel of Morphling should look like. So if you're sad about Morphling not getting a remodel, you can just play the Razer Arcana. But yeah,
that's true. Just get level 350 battle pass to pretend you have Morphling.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
this model is really sick. So yeah, so the base model basically turns your hero into, I would say, a minor. What did you call it? Did you call it a tornado?
Yeah, cyclone. Whatever.
Yeah, a cyclone. Yeah, exactly. So it kind of is like a small version of Yule, in this purple, and then you have a shield with a big crystal. You have a sword, which acts as your whip, and then you have a blue cloak that is split in the middle. What do you call a cloak that has like, the one Legion Commander has, where she has two like separate parts? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you have a cloak, but without the middle part.
I don't know the name,
two
but yes.
Banners down the side. It has a name. I'm sure about that. There's always someone in chat that knows.
It's a cape cut in half. That's what it's called. I'm pretty sure the technical name.
That's the technical term. Yeah. And on top of that, the set is an Arcana in every slot. So you can replace individual pieces if you want. The one that carries all the shit is the sword. So that's the one you definitely want to have for all the custom effects on spells.
Well,
there's a custom plasma field, there's a custom ult, there's a custom static link.
Remember, you can change that now, right? You can choose to use a different cosmetic.
Does that work on this? I think I read a post that some new items don't have that working yet, but maybe you are right.
Yeah. The alternate style makes them turquoise, like I said. What do you need to actually unlock that?
I think you need to drain. It's something about draining. Hang on, let me see. Kills with 100 or more damage stolen from static link. 500 kills.
500 kills.
Yeah.
While empowered by 100 static link damage.
So the thing about that is that, as I've talked about many times before, I think it's fine for these challenges to be difficult to unlock, so that it's something special that you have the second unlock. But why bother when the original looks better? Like, this to me, this is actually the second style that looks the worst compared to the first. So I don't even care, even if I were a Razor player.
You can only get, yeah, I agree. It looks worse. You can only get
the
8 a
turquoise
game,
is
by
just
the
good.
way. There is a cap, which
Oh, okay.
that, I mean, I can understand why you would do
it's
that
to avoid,
for abuse,
exploiting.
but at the same time, that does kind of feel bad.
Yeah, because that happens all the time that you get more than 800 damage static link kills in a game. I mean, it might happen, actually.
But yeah, all new model, custom animations, effects. Yeah, the plasma field looks incredible. Do people, they don't go Yules anymore on this hero, do they? Because I thought that was kind of an older reference. Because you have a new effect with Yules.
Right. It's not popular right now, at least, but it could come back. Potentially, depending.
I mean, it makes sense because it's a tornado, I guess.
Yeah.
But it feels like you get the tornado, like the Yule's effects with every battle pass, so it's not that exciting. But everything else is super top tier. So,
I mean, okay, I just want to say, as much as we criticize Valve about different things in this game, I feel like lately they've been really delivering on the Arcana quality. Like the recent cosmetics that come with the battle pass have overall been very good. This one is great. We both like the Void Arcana. We like the Crystal Maiden persona. I think the only letdown in like the last 5 or 6 cosmetics Valve have put out has been the PA one, right? Because the Maiden one we thought was very special and has some great animation. The Razor one is S tier. The Faceless Void, I don't know if I would say the Void is as good as the Razor, but it's still very good. And then we have the Queen of Pain and the Wind Ranger from last year. Yeah, overall, Arcana qualities lately have been really good. So whoever's working on those, in my opinion, is doing a really great job. Just wanted to say that.
Agreed. Good job.
Yeah.
Could be TV
cool.
Doto. He used to be a workshop artist that works at Valve now, and he's one of their main artists,
Definitely.
and he is very good. Okay.
Yep. I think he made Dawnbreaker, right? As well.
Couldn't tell you. Next thing on the list for all you audio listeners, we're going to talk about the Diretide Cache that just came out with... I'm not going to show anything. We're not going to talk about it very long. So the Diretide Cache came out. I feel like it was faster than normal. The vote ended, and within a couple days, it's out. It was actually a lot of sets, so that's why I couldn't take a picture. But the highlights for the rares, the tiny that we really liked, I liked. I can't remember what you thought. Is the ultra rare.
You were right.
The rare underneath that is the Primal Beast, which is the one I really wanted, which looks like Roshan. And for some reason, Jenkins gifted me this set. So thank you, Jenkins. I didn't have to buy any chests to get that. It looks fucking awesome.
Ask him if he has another one.
He does not. Of course, for those that don't know, Jenkins, of course, is the silent third member of the podcast. A lot of people don't know that because we don't really talk about it too much, but it's you, me, and Jenkins. He just doesn't participate in the conversations during the podcast, but
he is the third man of the podcast who does literally nothing.
That's right. That's correct.
That's Can I do that for your custom game and get a percentage?
No. Appreciate that though.
I would like to do nothing.
Does anything I should mention that I know for the Primal Beast you can't equip the immortal effects right now and use the current set because the current set looks way better than the immortals, but you don't get the effects. So
yeah, I think that was the one I read about where you can't swap in for some reason right now.
It's probably because it's just a brand new hero, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's just not set up.
Yeah, again, we talked about all these sets before, so we don't need to go on, but any of these sets get into the game that you were surprised by? Your favorite Clockwork set that looks like a Lego piece got in?
Yeah.
None of the anime Marcy's got in, just a different one was the rare.
Yeah, am I surprised by any of this? Probably not. I think overall the quality of this chest is pretty high. I think the Hoodwink is really cool. I think the Riki is really cool. We have the Snapfire with the green crocodile, which is cool. We talked about the Chen last episode with the two-headed... is that just a dog, I guess, mount? And the Scythe. The Clockwork is one of my least favorite sets of the chest, but it's still good quality. There's a new Dawn set, which looks great. It's a Spectre set that's good. The Void is a bit underwhelming, but that's not so important. He has other cool stuff. The Ursa is pretty solid. The Phoenix has that amazing egg that we talked about last time when you supernova. With the one that kind of rebirths inside the egg with the pulsing runes around. Looks amazing.
Yeah.
The Terrorblade's okay. The Undying is an acquired taste, but it's very unique. It's kind of like
Just Frankenstein.
yeah, it's Frankenstein basically. The Monkey King looks good. I mean, honestly, all of these sets I think are pretty good. I would say all of them are over a 5. They're probably all over a 6 as well. So
I was sad that the even though we did say the Snapfire set with the gator or whatever the hell it was is really good. I like the snail more. The snail was crazy. How well made that was.
I think it's very possible that
It'll
that one becomes a very rare on ultra rare in the new chest.
Of course, always.
It feels like that mount is just too. That would be too loved to not make a high quality from Valve's perspective, probably. And I don't know. I don't know how much they strategize this kind of stuff with what they put in these chests. I would imagine a decent amount, but you could have also put that in this time as an ultra rare, right, and saved the tiny. But because they had another good Snapfire here, they probably just went with it now.
How do you think they do, or how do you think they look at the votes, or they count the votes for something like this? Because before they showed the votes, I think, right? I'm trying to remember. Like a year or two ago, they would show the votes. Or at least they announced what the votes were in order. This time, they did not. And that's probably because all the Marcy's, I would imagine, got a lot of votes compared to the rest. And they were just...
So we could have a Marcy chest.
Well, it's more like the one that got in, I would be beyond shocked that it got more votes than the other ones. I'm not saying it's worse by any means. The other ones were ridiculous. But then again, Valve did choose the other ridiculous ones to be in the vote, right? It's not like they were forced into that. Maybe there were actually downvotes for them. That's actually possible.
That could be.
Because they're very polarizing.
Yeah. That is very true. But yeah, I mean, let's say there's the top 5 highest scoring sets. I don't think the top 5 highest scorers are all in this chest. So they probably save some for later or something. Or maybe they are all in this chest, actually. I don't know. I would imagine top 5, Tiny and Underlord, or Tiny and, Primal Beast are probably in the top 5. Along with maybe the Snapfire? I don't know if that was that much of a fan favorite over the other one. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like there's one or two that we talked about that we thought were really good that are not in here, which obviously doesn't mean they got a lot of votes, but that were very unique and might have been. But
very high quality sets across the board for sure.
Yeah, it's a good chest. This is one of the best chests we've had in a long time, because usually there's like 1 or 2 sets that might be good, and then there's some that are disappointing and some that are decent. This one is overall very good, I think. Probably like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10.
Yep, so, agree. Okay, next thing, rumors is what I have down here. So, remember a few weeks ago, I don't know if you've been seeing Reddit threads pop up with my name in them occasionally, Cinderin.
Yep.
Has that big thing SUNSfan talked about been announced, the downfall of Dota and all that shit? First of all, I have no update on that.
Has it?
No. Dota's still alive, believe it or not. Okay. So there's 2 sides to this, okay? First of all, when you are in the know and you have a podcast, it's sometimes difficult to communicate things without leaking, okay? Now, I was very careful when, I should say this. First of all, when I rewatched it, I came off as very defeated. I made it seem like it was going to be... I mean, people perceived it to be the end of Dota, which I didn't agree that they came off that way. I was just in a bad fucking mood. I was very somber. Let's see. What can I say?
Played a game of Diretide before the podcast.
Yes, I was very upset about that god-awful shit. So I think what I said was something to the effect of it's not related to Valve, and people took that somehow and reversed it and exaggerated and said, just came up with a bunch of shit, which I understand why. they would do something like that. Like, obviously, I was very cryptic about it, but then again, you can't really go into specifics, right? So I'll just go over what I said again. First of all, there is some other big news coming out soon too, DPC related, but that wasn't related to what I was talking about at all. But I think one source would technically be okay with us talking about the DPC. Others would not, so we're just going to hold off and wait for the official announcement. The thing that I was referring to is on a more personal level that I think would affect the scene, but it's not like the game is dying. It's nothing like that at all. So if it came off across like that, then apologies. But you know me, I'm a negative Nancy, Cinderin.
Mm-hmm. You're a doomer.
It's true. I'll admit to that. But yeah, I don't. The funny thing is, the thing that I'm referring to, I don't know if it's ever going to be announced. It might just silently happen, and we'll see if people notice. I don't fucking know.
That's nice, because then we can speculate about it every week.
Yeah, we'll keep this. We'll make this a weekly edition segment. We can we can talk about
We'll
constantly.
put it in right after the cosmetics every week. You guys can skip it with timestamps.
Yes.
There you go.
But yeah, hopefully we're going to get some big news relating to stuff that we want to talk about at some point. But it's been kind of this is like the off season of Dota. It's been kind of slow. And I think that's because the DPC doesn't start as fast as it did in previous years, right?
That is absolutely the case. The players this year actually get to take some time off. I think that has been one of the really big positives to come out of this, that players maybe haven't talked about much on social media or whatever, or in interviews, but with the new format that we have, first of all, aside from just having the more condensed DPC, where you now get Div 1 and Div 2 separated, which has both good and bad for Div 2, I think. You now get this downtime that I think players deserve and should have an off season in Dota. TI is just that intense. There's a shitload of build up to it. You spend so much time and effort on it. You need a break after something like that. And most other games and sports have an off season after their major championship. So I think last year the players had like 1 week off or something before the DPC started, or 2 weeks. It was like really short. And to a lot of people that might sound nice. Oh, 2 weeks holiday. I would fucking love that at my work. And I understand that. But when you're playing a competitive discipline like this, where there's so much on the line and so much, the type of stress is just different. So I think it's really healthy. I think it's good for the scene that there's a bit of a break for the pro players. And you can still run like third-party tournaments during this period leading up until the new year. I think there's stuff running already. I think there's probably going to be a couple more tournaments coming that will be like online stuff where players can opt in, but not have the pressure of I have to perform DPC once again immediately. I think this is very good. I'm a very big fan of the format for this year relative to, or for the coming year relative to this year. I still think it can be improved, but it should definitely be better than what we had this time around. So that's very good. Yep. And yeah, it gives the teams time. They get to take a break. They get to be maybe do more research and make some better choices about their rosters, because it's not as much of a, oh shit, hurry up guys, we need to have our team set for the next week. Now you get to like try players out a bit more. You get to have more discussions. You get to maybe find better fits, which ultimately could result in higher quality teams and less like drop off.
What about us? We get a break too, bro.
That's true.
Of course, you don't need one. You play fucking World of Warcraft all day.
Well, you work all day on your mod, so
yeah,
you don't need a break either.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, from a casting perspective, it does mean we have less work until the new year, so we kind of get a bit of a break too.
Thank God. I'm so sick of seeing you, honestly.
Yeah.
Only remotely.
I'm sick of seeing me too.
Okay. Let us go to the SAP segment for today. Let me bring up my question here, Cinderman.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this stat was only kept through TI7.
So when you say through, you mean from TI7 and onwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What hero spent the most gold?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Is it Tiny? Is it Lena? Is it Eurocopter, also known as Gyrocopter? Or is it Alchemist.
Oh. I don't think it's Alk. So it's just total amount of gold spent, right? Across all games.
Yes.
So then you want a hero that gets picked a lot, even if it's played as support, because it still just racks up games. Tiny has been really popular for the last few years. Tiny, Lina, Gyro, or Alk. Tiny gets played a lot as a core. Dude, this is hard. I think it's Tiny or Lina. I'm going to say Tiny.
Okay, very not well done. That's incorrect.
Oh. Is it the fourth most?
Alchemist was 5th with 4.1 million gold.
Mm-hmm.
Lina is 4th, 4.3 million gold. Tiny is 3rd with 4.7 million gold. I didn't even... The number 2, I didn't mention because it sounds so ridiculous to me. Marana is number 2.
Oh.
At 4.76 million gold. And Gyro is 5 million at number 1.
All right.
Which, that surprised me. I mean...
He was really played that much, huh?
I could see him being top 10, but number 1? That's insane.
Yeah.
So incorrect.
I mean, there was 1 or 2 TIs where there was a lot of IO Gyro, right? So I guess he was a popular pairing as a carry. But still, yeah, I would not have expected that. All right. Well, we continue our streak of... Actually, I don't even know what we're on yet. I think we're tied.
Probably. Sure.
I think we have 3 or 4 correct answers by now.
Sure.
I'm sure someone will go through all the timestamps of these and find all our scores for us. That will definitely happen. Okay. My question for you is, since TI5 included, which hero has done the most tower damage at TI only? Is it A, Shadow Fiend, B, Tiny, C, Gyro, or D, Morphling? So we have some overlap here.
Morphling.
Both had
Final
Tiny
answer.
and Gyro.
Morphling.
That is incorrect, Shannon. Do you want to guess which place that was in out of the 4?
4th.
That is correct. All right.
Tiny's a bait, surely.
He was close to first. First is Gyro.
Oh my god. That was my first instinct, but then you had to mention
Gyro.
Morphling. You had to mention Morphling. God damn it.
They're all pretty, I mean, somewhat close, actually. I think they're within like 15% of each other. And they are the top 4. So Morphling is 4th, SF is 3rd, Tiny is 2nd, and Gyro is 1st. So yeah, Gyro, man. Gyro is just rich and does a lot of tower damage with Side Gunner, I guess.
See, you getting the answer wrong from me prevented me from guessing Gyro on your question. Because you sounded like so surprised. Like, Gyro? My goodness. You were setting me up the whole time, you son of a bitch.
Oh, I love this quiz.
All right.
There's so much meta.
Last week's question. What is the shortest amount of game time a team needed to drop out of TI, team name being a bonus? This does not include TI1, of course, but the correct answer, which Cinderin, I believe, got right, was MUFC at TI3, who played 7 hours, 8 minutes, and 36 seconds, which is a total of 15 games. We both said 7 hours, which was very close. I said Alliance for TI4. You said MUFC, which they were winless, so it does make sense. Depending on what the formats were, we weren't 100% sure. So well done, Cinderin.
8 minutes off. We said 7 hours. And it was 7 hours, 8 minutes, 36 seconds, man. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's
not
amazing.
Bad. Not bad. What is this? It says, but in the weird format of TI4, the team CIS game dropped out in phase 1 of the playoffs against Team Liquid. Total time at TI 59 minutes, only 2 games. Was that like a wild card kind of thing?
The 2014 format. I don't even remember. I remember this bubble race thing, but that was after groups. So this must have been like some sort of play-in as well.
That was Black's team at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to the closest person in the community that got the answer correct. L30B, who guessed MUFC, 420 minutes.
That's a great way of saying 7 hours. It's like copying homework and then making it look different, you know?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
Very good. I used more characters. Um,
All right. Next
amazing.
week's question comes from a Luca Zangelmi, who asks, how many heroes have been played in every role? And we're going to rephrase it in for the last TI, which role had for TI? Okay, this last TI. Which role had the most different heroes, and how many was it? Which role had the most different heroes? Okay, so in the YouTube comments, make sure to type in hashtag SAP Esports, then type mid, safe lane, off lane, whatever you think, and then the number afterwards.
A good question.
Which role had the most different heroes?
I don't think it was support this TI.
I don't think so either. For me, it's either offlane or carry. I'll say carry, actually. I feel like a lot of versatile carries this last TI.
The offlane pool is pretty big too, wasn't it?
I'm going to say 35. That's probably too high. Carry 35. Is that too high? What do you got?
Well, when we say support, it needs to be 4 or 5, right? It's not support. Yeah, the categories are safe, mid, offlane, soft, and hard support. So that's important to note, because otherwise support would cover both 4 and 5, right?
True.
But we're trying to separate them into like priority, which is a bit of a stretch sometimes, because teams, whatever, it varies how people play the game. But I'm gonna say offlane.
Okay.
And I will say, do I dare say 40 different offlane heroes at TI? Is that possible? You said 35 carries, right?
Yes.
And how many heroes can you play offlane? It's a lot. No, I'll say offlane, and I'll say 30.
Okay. I feel like we saw a lot of offlane played as carry. That's why I think I'm right on the carry department. This TI.
Yeah, that's true. That definitely adds up. You're right.
All right, we'll see.
I'll stick with my gut. Offlane 30 heroes.
All right. If your ideas are transformative, use them to transform SAP's customer businesses. Check out SAP's various open positions in sales, development, and technology, and consulting at jobs.sap.com, or by clicking the link in the description below. Again, thank you to SAP for the weekly segment and for supporting the show, as always. Okay, now we get to talk about stuff that we have put off for weeks that are now old news. The first being Neon Prime. There is a new game supposedly being made by Valve. They recently, well, maybe not recently anymore.
A few weeks ago now.
They, quote unquote, recently patented the name Neon Prime. There are rumors, of course, that IceFrog is working on it. There are rumors that it could potentially be the same game as Citadel, which was rumored to be the next Half-Life related game. They could be totally separate. Who knows? More rumors about Neon Prime is it's a first-person shooter with 5 heroes or whatever units, and then there's a 6th person that is a commander overview type thing.
Yep.
All of these are rumors. Some of it's been data mined, but still, who knows what's accurate? Does any of this intrigue you?
I mean, the most intriguing thing for me out of all these rumors is if IceFrog is working on it, because that gives me, I think, okay, so from Valve's perspective, right, you've had some recent games that were not successes, let's be honest. Their recent titles have not been hits.
They could have been.
They could have been, but they haven't been. And if Valve are looking for a hit, I think this is the number one guy that I would want working on my hit. So, I have a lot of faith in IceFrog in terms of balancing and in terms of making a good competitive experience. So, depending on which direction they're taking this supposed game in, having someone like that work on it is a really major plus for me. And I'll just say hands down, if there's any game that is announced that IceFrog has worked on, I will play it no matter what genre it is. I'm just gonna play it because I have a huge amount of faith in this guy to make a good product. And even if it comes out and it's not polished and it's not fully fleshed out or whatever, I think this guy will know what to do to make things good because he has done nothing but great stuff for Dota for so long. And it's a huge part of the reason the game got to where it did, right? He obviously went to Valve many, many years ago with the game and was like, hey, I could make this game with you guys. Do you want to do it? And they say yes. And here we are, right? So that's the most exciting part about it. The whole genre stuff, if it does turn out the way the rumors are saying with a 5-person sort of hero-like shooter with a commander, I'm really intrigued by the commander view as an idea to play the game. I think it's just not like... I believe this has been done before with 1 or 2 other games. It's not like a fully revolutionary new idea. But I do think it's potentially a really cool way of merging interest from the CSGO and Dota communities, because it sounds like it's a strategy shooter, if that is what it turns out to be, where maybe the commander view appeals a lot to a lot of, strategic Dota players, whereas the shooter element appears more to a lot of shooter fans. So maybe that's the idea.
So I could be mistaken here, but I remember way back in the day, I don't know if you were even into gaming. Well, you probably into something, but maybe not Valve games. When TF2 was first announced, do you remember that at all?
I've never played that, so no, I don't remember that.
When TF2 was first announced, it was about, I want to say, roughly 8 years before it was released. Think about that for a second.
Jesus.
It was remade 3 different times, but the original, which I was so fucking excited for, which didn't end up happening, so I was really sad, and I'm not, I mean, I know a lot of people like TF2, but it wasn't my kind of game. I believe part of it was having a commander view. The way that I looked at it, which I didn't realize at the time because this game wasn't out yet, it was Battlefield before Battlefield. And I thought Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2 specifically were amazing games, and they had kind of that aspect to them. So if they can bring that juice back, then yeah, I'm really excited. Obviously, I love FPS games. And that's the thing. If IceFrog is working on it, obviously everyone's going to try it. Mm-hmm. He's never done an FPS game. I don't mean what. Maybe he's done some other games we don't know about, but
the only games we know for a fact that IceFrog has worked on are Dota, Han, and Dota 2, right? There's nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
We know.
So the fact that it's a completely different genre leaves some question marks. Yeah. But then again, from like a Valve standpoint, they have more experience with FPS than anything else. So combining the two could be really cool. This could all be completely incorrect and fake. So that's the other thing.
And the other thing, like you said, so the whole TF2 thing, right? Now that I know that piece of information that I didn't know, maybe this is just a darling that Valve really want to make happen, and when they try it just doesn't work. Because if they tried it like, what's that now, 20 years ago, and now they're revisiting the idea, they might come to the same conclusion again, that this format just isn't viable and isn't fun enough, and scrap that commander idea and turn it into something else. We might also be totally misinformed. There's also the idea that, I mean, obviously all of this is rumor-based, right? But it might be 2 separate games. We're kind of talking about it like Neon Prime and Citadel are potentially one product. It might be 2 totally different ones. Like maybe Citadel is being worked on by one team and Neon Prime is being worked on by another team. Maybe IceFrog is involved in both, one, neither. The thing for me that is a little bit, how to say, so Citadel was never... They never went out and trademarked anything for that, right? This is the first one they filed for, or patented, whatever it is.
Yeah,
is Neon Prime. So there's 2 possible things here. Either it is Citadel, like you said, or Citadel has either been shelved or is just not ready to file for anything yet. But Neon Prime is, and it's a different game. But yeah, either way, I'm curious. I'm excited. Especially with the IceFrog rumor, obviously. And I'm honestly, maybe this sounds weird, but despite the last two Valve games not being successes, I'm still excited when they put out a title because I think some things that Valve have done in the past obviously have been really, really good, and recently they haven't. But their track record in terms of overall history isn't terrible. So there's a decent chance. You're going to hit some, you're going to miss some. And my optimistic point of view that I'm always
I'm envious.
I believe this could be the one.
Well, that's the thing, though.
And if it isn't, then it's par for the course. So.
The games they've come out with, I've enjoyed immensely. As I've stated many a time, I think the way they handled them is atrocious, just beyond atrocious.
So you could really, really hope now that they've learned something about the way they handled the games rather than the games themselves. Because I kind of agree. I think Underlords was good. I think Artifact in particular had more potential, but I think it was wasted. And now they've gone through those motions, so hopefully they made the right... they definitely learned something about monetization with what they tried with Artifact. That was a huge no-no, the way that was run. So you would hope that doesn't happen again, at least not to the same extent.
Yep.
And then it's harder to put a finger on with Underlords exactly what went completely wrong there, I think. Because I think part of it was that they missed their timing window, and something like TFT was already too big, and it was hard to get in on the market at that point.
Oh, they just didn't stick with it again. But
maybe they...
But I agree, Artifact had more of a ceiling than Underlords, because...
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, auto battlers are, I don't know, don't feel like they have the same life expectancy. I
see some people in chat speculating that Neon Prime could be an MMO. Do you think there's any chance Valve make an MMO?
That sounds like way too much upkeep for Valve.
I feel like it's very unlikely based on how that company likes to make and run their games. I don't see... I mean, I would be very curious and excited because I like MMOs, but to me, that's like the least likely genre almost that Valve would make.
How many employees does Valve have? Do you think they can handle an MMO when... for any given game, there's like 10 people working on it? There's no way.
Yeah, they probably need a bigger staff for an MMO.
MMOs are like massive staffs.
They're very taxing, yeah.
Anyway, can I show you, sorry to the audio listeners, I want to show you some images of the original Team Fortress 2 when it was announced.
Okay.
Keep in mind, when it first... So this was first announced with all the things that I talked about, and then it was delayed, like literally 5 or 6 years delayed and remade several times. And then it ended up being the current version, which is like very cartoony, which I hated because I was so into this. These images are very small and terrible. Oh my God, they're really bad. Here's an image.
Okay.
So you got like soldiers. You can tell it's much more serious looking than TF2, right?
I'm waiting for the stream to catch up. Hang on, am I just not... You're showing them on stream, right?
I am showing them on stream.
Okay, I guess I wasn't caught up then. I'm refreshing it.
Okay, I'll wait for you. You can do it.
Right. Yeah, 30-second ad.
Give me that sweet, sweet money. Yeah, this was literally...
I literally just watched, but here it is again.
I need to look up what year the original Battlefield 1942 came out, because I'm trying to remember if that was the reason that they delayed. I don't think it was. I think it was like way before Battlefield came out. Keep in mind, this is like 1999, guys. The graphics will not be amazing, obviously.
I'm seeing it now. Yep.
Okay, you see that one? There's 3 images. Here's another one.
Okay.
Just another kind of a close-up.
Kind of look like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, actually.
I'm not going to lie. The model does not look very bad at all. This is 1999.
That's good.
And then the final one...
Isn't that like a really good model for that year?
Yeah, exactly. And this is... Good. Look at this. Does this not look like Battlefield? It has a tank. It has a helicopter. This is 1999, around that time. This was way before its time, man. I was so excited for this shit. And then they made it like normal, cartoony TF2. So I was super sad.
I mean, I don't know if that was normal either, right? Because like the end product that they have for TF2, there was nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, either way, it was very unique when they released it. But yeah, this definitely looks. This looks like something. If you told someone who hasn't seen the game ever, and you're like, "There's a game called Team Fortress 2, which is a shooter," this is the image they make in their mind, right? They imagine like a physical fortress with soldiers and tanks. So this is kind of what you would think when you hear it. I wonder why they went away from it. Maybe it wasn't unique enough. Maybe it was too similar to the other games, like you said, of the time that were coming out or were rumored or were already out. And they really wanted something special, which they did. I think, honestly, hand on heart, the game might have been less successful if they did it in this style.
So Battlefield 1942 came out on September of 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when TF2 was originally announced, but it was delayed, and then maybe Battlefield came out and they're like, oh shit, we missed our window or something like that. I don't know.
That's possible, yeah. Battlefield's a huge success, right? 1942 was enormous, I think, at the time.
Yep, and it's gone downhill. Well, Battlefield 2 was great, and then I think it went downhill from there. Horrible franchise. They really fucked that one up. Okay. So yeah, looking forward to more news about Neon Prime. One thing we didn't mention is the name. What a terrible fucking name! Holy shit! It's like it's like a shitty Transformer. That's what I think of immediately.
So when they trademarked the name, that's what they did with Dota 2, right? They literally we're gonna work under the assumption that this will be the final title of the game, right?
Yes.
Is that
otherwise why bother?
Is that a clue for the genre? Like, does this? It's a clue about the style, right? Like Neon Prime sounds like something. What's that art style called in that time period? I'm thinking of
steampunk.
Yeah, either some steampunk or some.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of steampunk.
Cyberpunk, right? That's the one. So
yeah,
does that lend itself more to like a shooter? Does it lend itself more to an MMO? Do you think? Is it like actually just laser tag?
Based on the files that were mined, it was an FPS.
Right.
With RTS or RPG elements. Okay. We'll see.
Yep. Cool.
All right, final thing to talk about, which I just couldn't bring myself to actually research because it just is annoying to me. But Elon Musk officially bought Twitter, Sindarin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember everything that happened. So he asked or is forcing his workers to not be remote anymore, which obviously sucks if you enjoy doing remote. He made I'm trying to remember all the demands he made, but there's been a lot of news about it. They started a blue check mark originally, the verification, to be $8. And I think the original difference between ones that we got and ones that you purchased is when you click on the name, then it says if it's officially verified or if it's subscribed. But then there was issues with impersonation.
Oh my god.
Which some of them were absolutely hilarious, and one in particular that actually made a big difference. I'm just going to read the tweet here from some random person. An anonymous tweeter pretending to be Eli Lilly and Company spent $8 on their verification and put out a fake tweet that insulin is now free. So this is like a medicinal whatever company. And they lost $30 billion in market cap as a result. Think about that. That might be the best use of $8 in human history is what the tweet reads. Which I'm trying to remember the specifics behind the insulin thing, because I think everything was researched and funded in the US, and other countries are getting it for very low price, but in the US they jack up the prices for whatever reason. And it's
what
like,
could the reason possibly be?
Well, it's like, I mean, when I say that, I mean, I don't know how it's fucking legal. It's like basically criminal activity in my mind.
Story. Yeah.
But because that tweet went out, they pretended to be that company, their stocks dropped like a rock. And that's little things like that have happened to several people, many people, impersonating other people, whatever. Elon Musk got very angry, has now taken down the purchasable verification. They'll bring it back, of course, with some tweaks, some new colors, as he said. What a fucking disaster, man. This, I know I'm going to make a lot of people angry because I got some messages last time I said Elon Musk is an absolute idiot. Holy shit. If you're not seeing what's happening, like you're just blinding yourself at this point. The guy's a megalomaniac. Jesus Christ.
He might be the most polarizing person in the public sphere right now. He might have taken number one away from Trump at this point.
He unbanned Trump from Twitter as well, which...
Yeah, and what was it? Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think. He also unbanned her now. So freedom of speech, now you can misinform people as much as you want.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing. Yeah. I understand on some level. Elon Musk, he works on stuff that's really fucking cool. Electric cars, he revolutionized the way that, people are following his footsteps, basically, right? They're behind him. He's ahead of the curve. Those are fucking cool. SpaceX is really fucking cool. The tunnels, not very fucking cool. I remember he's a salesman, right? He puts out these big pitches, he promises the world, and they end up falling flat a lot of the time. Like the tunnels, he promised that they would be automated. You'd get from one place to another, like through LA very quickly. They're literally just holes in the ground now. So they're not anything like what he promised. The thing with the chip in the head, what was that? Something with, what was that one called? The micro...
Prime?
It might as well be called that. The microchip thing, which had a lot of promise or whatever, they barely even started. All the pigs they used died. Neuralink, thank you, chat. Like, that one fell on its fucking face. Maybe it'll be something someday, I'm not sure. Does he work on stuff that's cool? Yes. Is he obviously an absolute piece of fucking garbage? I think it's a yes. But because people are such a fan of his other stuff, they turn a blind eye to what's literally in front of them. They're seeing what kind of a person he is, how he does business. And like, that's okay because I like cool cars. You know what I mean? That's my opinion on what it's like for probably a good amount of people that are huge fans of him.
So the short list of like successes he's had, right, are, correct me if I'm wrong, it's PayPal, right?
That's how he got originally rich, is PayPal.
That's how he got rich, right?
Yeah.
So PayPal, Tesla, and SpaceX are the successful projects, and everything else is kind of flopped or whatever. Which, there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur and investing and trying things, and some things fail and some things work, but like I think there's like this cult following for him that celebrate him like a god that can do no wrong. And that's just, look at the evidence. Obviously, everybody makes mistakes and everybody can do wrong, and then you can make your own judgments about his character or whatever. The thing I will say is he seems very driven, and he is trying to do things in good or bad ways, but he's definitely someone who wants to, even though he is filthy rich, he's still pushing for new stuff. He could just retire, stop or whatever, but he really, is ambitious with certain things. But that, like you said, doesn't mean we need to agree with how he is as a person or what he's trying to do or how he is trying to do it. But he's definitely pushing the envelope on some things. I think based on the things I've heard about how he's handling this whole Twitter debacle and the whole company, I disagree with it very much on a fundamental level, the way he's like pressuring his employees and the way it's being run. Some people think that's how it should be. Like, you should just do 80-hour work weeks if you want to work in this environment, if you want to work in this industry. If you want to be one of the front runners of something like this, that is how it should be. I disagree with that, but maybe I'm just naive and I don't know enough about how these companies are. Maybe that's just expected at this point. You want to work for Twitter? 80-hour work week.
That is how you become a billionaire, is you min-max everything and you work everybody to the bone. That's generally how it goes. Like, same thing for Bezos, right? Like, you hear things all the time about how bad the conditions are with Amazon employees. That's how you become a billionaire. Like, the only person that I could be wrong on this. The only billionaire I've heard of that it seems like a genuinely good person is Bill Gates, based on, he cheated on his wife. That's not great. But,
but in
terms of like the way he uses his money, I think, from what I've seen at least, is very positive.
He's a philanthropist for sure, right? But back in the day when Microsoft got big, wasn't it largely off of stealing like Xerox ideas, for example? And
probably.
So, like, I think his history of how he got very rich is probably kind of similar, honestly, if not even arguably worse.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. To make it as a billionaire, I think that's the stuff you do. I just assume if somebody's a billionaire, they did something really fucking shady to get to that point, usually.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe it's not right 100% of the time. But I think the way you use your money, once you're ridiculously rich, that tells a story in and of itself, right? Bill Gates,
the story of
the way Bill Gates is doing it, I like, because he's trying to cure diseases.
Absolution, dude.
But it feels like Elon, it's like a narcissistic standpoint where he's just, I don't know. I don't think Twitter's going to die. I know there's this big trend that everybody thinks Twitter's going to die. I don't think that's going to be the case. But
I don't think so either.
He has, apparently his net worth has plummeted as a result of all this stuff, which, he's still going to be ridiculously rich. Doesn't really matter.
He'll be okay.
There's a new, have you heard of Hive? That seems to be the one that people are.
I've heard the name. I haven't looked at the page yet.
It's
supposed to be basically new.
It's Twitter, like an Instagram / Twitter replacement. Yeah, I don't know. I made an account, but I haven't tweeted, or I don't even know what the word would be. I haven't posted anything. It would be nice to have a new social media. I'm not going to lie. I feel like Reddit is the only one that I actually like genuinely like, because you can just find stuff, sections that you are a fan of, and just read them every day. Twitter is okay, and the rest are I'm actually not a big fan of Instagram myself. And Facebook is atrocious, obviously. It's the worst of the worst.
TikTok?
TikTok, I don't have one. I've never used it. Nikki's obsessed with it, so that annoys me that she's just watching it constantly. But then she shows me cat videos, and those are all obviously great because cats are amazing. So I don't know what the hell's happening with Twitter.
I wonder if we're going to have a pushback on this whole development that we've had in the last 10 years with attention span, right? Where everything needs to be faster and more intense almost. So that's why social media, with these formats of shorts or TikToks that are 10 to 15 second videos, and then you're on to the next one. Just constantly something new, something fresh, something fast. If people are going to get exhausted with that and want to go back to some slower formats again, if that's going to be the next thing, because the way I see it, it's kind of hard to make social media much faster than it is now, right? We're kind of pushing it to the limit for how short can you make content while it still has some sort of interest. Some of the videos are literally 2 seconds long. You can't make it much quicker than that. So are people going to want the slower content again at some point? Because now they've been there.
I think everything, it's a cycle. Maybe that will be I would assume it's cyclical, but who knows? It's too, if you think about it, the internet's only been around 20 some years, right? So it's still quite young by comparison. But yeah, Twitter not looking so great, but I think it will live on. But maybe it gets to a point where I don't use it anymore. We'll see. It's not looking like a great direction for me personally, but if you guys enjoy that, then enjoy. Okay.
All right, Shannon, I got to quickly address something, okay?
Okay.
I live in an area with frequent earthquakes, so that's why my camera sometimes will be shaking on the podcast. No. So what's going on is my table it's not a very tall table, and sometimes I wouldn't say I have shaky leg syndrome or whatever the fuck you call it, but sometimes I get a little restless, and everybody does that to some extent. The problem is my table is so low that when I do that, my leg connects with the table and it shakes, and my camera is on top of my monitor. So when people say they get nauseous or uncomfortable watching me shake the camera, I'm sorry. I'm not doing it on purpose, and I'll try to be better.
How dare you?
You could click on the timestamps, and then you could avoid the parts where I shake the camera.
That was a good joke. I like that one.
There you go.
Wait, what? Why is your desk so low?
That's just the size of the table. Maybe I should get a high. The thing is, though,
sounds like you need to move to America.
I need to get. I think I could adjust my chair higher up. We have pretty much the same chair, right? You also have a Herman Miller. You have the Aeron, right?
Yeah.
And I have the, what's mine called again? Embody, I think. But they're pretty similar. You can. So I think this one could be adjusted to a high enough height. Maybe I should just get a new table. Maybe I should.
Where'd you get the table? Is it IKEA?
It's just an IKEA table. It's nothing special.
I'm surprised. For somebody that no-lifes World of Warcraft, you don't spend any money on your desk. It's really weird.
You really love referencing that, don't you?
All right, let's do one Patreon mailbag question since he's been sitting here forever. Mr. Niebling has a question. Would a team consisting of 4 pro players and 1 Herald player be able to compete with the top tier teams given that the Herald player does not have Fog of War, thus being able to verbally communicate ward placements and hero movements to his team? Why or why not? I'm going to answer first because you're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
I would say absolutely. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
Like, how much of an advantage would you say that is? Like, because
it is enormous.
The Herald player, like, how bad is this Herald player? Like, can they click buttons? Does it matter?
I mean, what I've heard from Reddit, which I think is a very trustworthy source, is that Heralds are better than ever because people are Herald and can't climb out of Herald, and therefore Herald must be amazing. So they're probably really good. I believe Jenkins has made some content on them. They look like world-class players, so I do think they can definitely hold their own in lane against someone like Arteezy, no problem.
Good.
And then they have map hack, so that's pretty dope, right?
Like, what if he sat in Fountain?
Yeah, so that's what I was debating is a Herald player so bad that they're a detriment to having a dual lane? Like, are they a net negative over just a weak player? If they're a net negative and they sit in Fountain, then it's kind of like Neon Prime with a commander view, right? And then you have 4 players playing against 5.
I mean, you would just put them in the jungle, surely.
Yeah, something like that.
They probably
right?
still die to the creeps, but, no XP for the enemy.
That's harsh. Depending on what hero they play.
Yeah. Just
imagine the meta going against that team, and you need to start banning out the Herald players jungling heroes.
You just pick like Bounty Hunter to just find him in the jungle and destroy them. But
put him on Bounty Hunter. He just hunts couriers all game.
What? Okay, so but seriously, let's just say he sat in Fountain and he just doesn't participate the entire game. You pick like Crystal Maiden or Silencer. You get them to level 6 for Silencer in that case. Is that enough? Because they can see everything. They will tell you everything. There's a ward here. Like, you can't ward against this team, period.
Yeah, you can't ward. You can't smoke. Which is probably, by the way, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, probably the single best invention Dota has had in the last 10 years was Smoke of Deceit. It is so fucking good for the game. And that is something that League of Legends, for example, is sorely missing, is an item like that. It is very good. Genius design, in my opinion. But yeah, so you can't smoke against this team. You can't ward against it. You can't surprise them with how you set your lanes. You can never get Roche without the enemy team knowing. And if you ever split, so this is where the 4v5 team need to win the game, is that they need to outnumber, right? Because if the enemy team goes as 5 the whole game, you're never going to be able to outnumber them, but then you can beat them on resources because you can farm 2.5 lanes plus jungle. And when they start splitting up to farm different areas of the map, you can guide them, be like, hey, there's a guy going here now to farm this camp. You can go and gank him as 2 or 3. I think this team could win TI with these conditions. I'm pretty sure.
So somebody
if I can choose the 4 pro players, if you can make the best possible 4-player team with a Herald that has map hack, I think they're the best team in the world.
Somebody in the chat's making a good point that you could pick heroes around this as well and just give control. So you can give like,
that's true.
There are players that can multitask and obviously micro and all that, and it's not going to be the best of their abilities in terms of like how they're playing the hero, but as long as you're getting levels on the heroes and they're not feeding relentlessly, then I agree.
Yeah, this would be the best team.
4v5 though, it would be a rough laning stage.
It's just information is way too powerful on a pro level. I think the concept of having map hack becomes more and more powerful the higher skill the game gets, because that's where the information becomes more and more valuable. I think you would agree it's the same in Counter-Strike, right? As a concept, like the ability to see everywhere becomes better the better players are, because they exploit information better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So it becomes the strongest resource the better the players are.
Yep.
So
now this is assuming, like, when we say that he's a Herald player, obviously he's not good, but he also can't be a complete fucking moron. You have to have you need to be able to talk, communicate with the team. There's a certain level of expectation for that to actually be beneficial. Like, they can't be a goddamn moron, is what I'm saying, okay? Like, imagine if it was Slacks and he's just, like, making jokes the whole time. Like, then you just can't concentrate. You know, you're not going to get the full benefit.
Second at TI with that, so it's not much of a leap.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it was implied that the Herald could speak, but if the Herald is mute, then I don't think they will win TI.
Wait, what if you could only type and ping?
How far do you want to take this?
Just this is the last one. You can type and ping. That's it. And you can tip the enemy players. Not that that's relevant, but just in case.
Oh, if you can't use voice, it gets so much more complicated, actually. I'm going to say they could still do it. But
okay.
That actually is a lot harder because there's a lot of like live things where
there's a lot of different
seconds off.
There's a lot of different types of pings you can make, right?
Because, yeah, that's true.
You can tell them, you can communicate that way. You'd have to have a whole system. You need to practice that, of course. You have to scrim.
I don't know why it's so funny to me the way you were talking about Herald. It's like they're not even human beings. It's just so insulting.
Well, no. That's what I said. Oh, okay, to be
like an animal that needs to be trained, like a basic human interaction, man. They're human beings playing a video game.
No, I agree, but
as good at it or as invested as other people are still humans.
Let's be fair. There are probably a few of those heralds that are like that. And those are the ones that you can't pick for this challenge. Okay? That would be a cool tournament format, by the way. Very boring, actually. But if you could hear the comms, that would be hilarious. See, that's the kind of comms we could have had at TI. That's interesting. But maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe next year they do that. That's a great idea.
That is the end of the episode. Thank you for joining us, as always, everybody. Until next week. Oh, happy Thanksgiving. It's actually Thanksgiving now for all the Americans. Shannon. Thank you. I'll be eating dinner with my mother. None of us like turkey, so we're gonna have
the food, not the country. Just for timestamp reasons.
Actually, Istanbul had an amazing airport. I loved the lounge there.
And if there's something to gauge a country by, it is their airport.
Istanbul has great shawarmas as well. Turkey and but yes, the turkey, the meat, not a huge fan. So we'll be eating other things like probably Persian food, I would imagine. I actually have no idea, but we'll see. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Until next week, SUNSfan and Syndrome signing out.
What's Thanksgiving? Bye.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything.
Subscribe.
But thanks for listening. Yeah.